Buenos dias to what is going to be the most impactful week in crypto for a very, very long time at least. Because this week we're going to see the decision by the SEC on whether or not the Bitcoin spot ETF will be approved or delayed. We've been covering this on this channel here for quite some time, for a couple of months now, and it's finally decision week. By tomorrow latest, we will know if the Bitcoin gets approved. I think there's a 90 to 10 ratio in terms of chances whether it's going through or not. So 90% of the people think that this is a done deal. Gary Gensler coming out yesterday with this thread, basically explaining people how to invest in crypto and kind of warning them, is a big indication that this is actually sealed. Now, of course, there might be a last-minute rug, and I think if the SEC would disapprove and basically delay the ETF, this will cause a huge sell-off and like big, double-digit crash of the market instantaneously. And I think the subsequent weeks might be very, very choppy. If it gets approved, I still think we're going to see a pump. So I think that's kind of what we're seeing today. Also up 6% of Bitcoin. We actually went above 47,000. Altcoins still a bit slow, to be honest. We see some recovery, but it's also only because altcoins have been sold off massively the day before also Gary's tweet came out. So we're seeing slight recovery here. If we scroll down, we see Atom rank 25, $9.83, still below 10 US dollars, only up 5%. So nothing really much happening with Atom. And other Cosmos coins are coming, right? We're seeing Injective INJ, 43 US dollars, up 11% almost. And it's coming for Atom yet again. It flipped Atom briefly a couple of weeks ago. And we're also seeing other coins like Celestia up 20% on the day. Even Sane Network up 15%, right? 73 cents. If we look at Cosmos ecosystem price movements, we can see Akash Network above $3 in the past 24 hours. Maybe if we go into weekly and compare against Bitcoin, we can see what are the biggest winners. We got Bitsong here covered in my last video, up almost 100% on a week against Bitcoin. We got Passage, PASG. I made a big video about metaverse, NFTs, and this whole narrative, and what are some of the best plays in Cosmos in that narrative. Just 2 days ago, so check that out. Comdex also RWAs, real world assets. Also one that has survived the bear market. You also see Kive, Neutron, Crescent, right? Crescent also micro cap. Stride, huge run in the past couple of weeks already. Mars Protocol and Akash, like I said, Quasar, Stargaze, Omniflix. Now I want to talk about a brand new Cosmos Hub Atom Tokenomics proposal that just went live that you need to know about. And also I want to talk about Picasso Network, which was not here on Minscan, but has made huge moves in the past few weeks. But before that, I want to make an announcement. And the announcement is that we're having our Twitter spaces at 5 p.m. UTC. So maybe by the time you're watching this video, you already can go over and watch it right away. Tune in and listen as we reveal the location and the dates for Cosmoverse 2024. We're very early this time, and I think it helps a lot to kind of plan out your travels for the year. Now, as promised, there is a new Atom proposal that is now on chain and up for voting. I saw some confusion from people that think that this proposal means that the inflation minimum would immediately go down to 0%, or at least that it's kind of like now programming the inflation to definitely go to 0%, right? But that's not what that means. And I think for that, I need to explain to you how Atom tokenomics work. Atom has a dynamic inflation rate, which ranges currently between 7 and 10%. Remember how we had the Atom halving proposal that went through recently and passed. And in that proposal, it also mentioned that there are 2 subsequent proposals that are following, right? So before that proposal, the maximum inflation rate was at 20%, and the minimum inflation rate was at 7%. So the range was between 7 and 20%. And the so-called change rate parameter then adjust the inflation to the upside or downside based on how much is staked, which is also known as the bonded ratio. And the bonded target ratio, which you can also see if you go back at parameters, the target ratio is set at 67%. And as you can see here also, max inflation rate is now 10 and 7%. So that's the range that I was talking about earlier. And the inflation change parameter is currently set at 1. And this parameter means the speed or the velocity at which the inflation rate adjusts itself. So what does it all mean? This means that if the bonded ratio is below the goal bonded, which means below 67%, inflation rate will go up to incentivize staking, and it will go up not immediately like this, but it will gradually increase to the inflation max of 10% based on a formula that has also been outlined here in this proposal. We can actually look into it real quick. If you go here on original, you can see that this is the formula: 1 minus current bonded ratio divided by, actually it's 67 here, not 66, times 1. And that is the inflation rate change per year, right? So that's the kind of change of the inflation and how fast it adjusts itself. Right now, we are below 2/3. Right now, the bonded ratio is at 64.3%. So that's below 67%, which means that currently we are inflating. Atom is inflating, but it's currently at the roof already. So we can't go higher than 10%, right? So Atom is currently at its max inflation. And the only way for Atom to decrease its current inflation from 10% is if the bonded ratio goes above 67%, right? And one thesis is to say, okay, people are not staking because even if we go below above 67%, we would only go down to a floor of maximum 7% or minimum 7%, right? The minimum inflation rate, which you can see here in the back at parameters. So this current proposal that is right now up for voting actually aims to remove those 7% minimum inflation rate, right? What would that mean? That would mean that if the bonded ratio is above 2/3 or 67%, it would mean that Atom could actually go down to 0% inflation over a long period of time, because to get down from 10% to 0% at this inflation rate change speed or velocity that we're currently at, based on this formula, it would take many years. Like it would take a couple of years to get there, right? So I think this is very, very crucial to understand. It doesn't happen like this. If we go above 2/3, then suddenly we go to 0%. Because I also see some people are concerned, like, yo, if this happens, how will validators be paid? Fees alone? This tweet needs to be a thread. I said, yes, I'm going to make a video on this, and you guys seem to like that. So here's the video. So the answer to that is, and I think I gave you half of the answer already, which is inflation is not going to go to 0 right away. But let's say that there's a third proposal after this proposal passes. Let's say proposal, what is it, number 700 or 868. Let's say this proposal passes, and I'm quite optimistic that it will pass. And I also want it to pass, to be quite honest. I'm going to tell you why in a second. But let's say this passes. There might be a subsequent third proposal that would adjust the change rate parameter, which would mean that this could double from 1 to 2 so that the inflation adjusts itself faster. Now, the only thing that is then required for Atom to actually massively deflate would be to increase the bonded ratio. To further analyze this, we can go over here on monitor.brownbro.io, which is also a great validator, by the way. You should delegate to them as well whenever you see that, besides Cryptocito, of course. But what we can see here is we can see the correlation between, well, staking APR and the bonded ratio and the inflation rate, right? So here we can see the bonded ratio between April of, what is this? March, April of 2023, we actually went above 2/3, all the way until sometime here in October of 2023. And during this time, you could see that the inflation rate gradually decreased, but it didn't go immediately to the floor of 7%. This took a lot of time, right? And we even were here above 70% staked ratio. So this was the trajectory to the downside, and you can really see this here visualized, really, really amazing. Ever since then, even before this proposal happened with the atom halving, the bonded ratio has already been going down and lost 6% here from the top of 70%. But yeah, since this proposal then happened, you can see this hard reset down to 10% max inflation rate, because that's been the new roof since then, here in late November. And you can see that it was a bit shaky. First bonded ratio went up, then it went down, but now we're seeing that it's slowly kind of reversing, and hopefully this bonded ratio is going to go back above 67%, which would then allow for the inflation rate to further go down. And if the current proposal to set the minimum inflation to 0% would go through, we could even go further down. Now, I think this is very important to understand. And yeah, the question is then, how do validators get paid, right? And I think it's a very similar model, or a very similar problem than pretty much every crypto ecosystem has, which is to generate on-chain revenue, right? As of right now, we have the narrative for the Atom economic zone with the Cosmos Hub, in which we have consumer chains that rent out security from Atom, and in exchange for that, they are paying the Cosmos Hub validators and delegators who are securing the Cosmos Hub. So they are providing the security and guaranteeing the security. They have some revenue shares, right? Neutron is sharing, I think it's 15 or 25%, I think, of the revenue they're generating. And Stride is doing 15%. As a liquid staking provider, Stride has a business model and how they generate revenue also. So you can actually go here and you can see that Stride has a TVL of nearly 100 million US dollars, which is fully secured by the Cosmos Hub. And if we look at Neutron, that's the second Atom secured chain, they have a TVL of 52 million, right? So those two chains are actually very, very high profile chains. I think we still need to see how the economics play out. When this launched, it was a dry bear market. And obviously Neutron is a DeFi smart contract platform. Stride is a liquid staking protocol, right? Those are more kind of like bull run products. And also now their valuations are much higher. So, you know, Tractions, dApps that are launching on Neutron especially, they're just getting started. So I think we haven't, it's probably too early to judge the success of the economics in the Atom economic zone. But I also do agree that Atom needs more business models, right? One of which could be TimeWave. I made a video about this many weeks ago, which is actually built on Neutron, and TimeWave aims to build a new business model for Atom, in which Atom could lend out liquidity and earn fees in return, right? Not only fees, but actually charge for that service, right? And I think that could be a very interesting model, which not only generates new revenue for Atom, but also strengthens Atom's role as interchain capital, right? And that's also really my point here, and why I think that this proposal should also pass, is because now we already started to refine Atom's tokenomics by the Atom halving. Now let's get it done. Like let's push it over the finish line, remove the 7% floor, adjust the change rate parameter, make it faster so that the inflation can adjust, then develop new business models for Atom, such as TimeWave's liquidity as a service, for example, maybe even refine economics for consumer chains, add more high profile consumer chains. I also think that Noble's migration to become an Atom secured chain is essential for the Cosmos Hub. I think if that gets pulled off, I think this would be very, very bad news for Atom. And as of right now, I think I'll give it a 50-50 chance, to be quite honest with you guys. I think the Noble migration should have happened a long time ago to be on the safe side. But yeah, let's see what's happening there. Obviously, Noble is very successful in itself. They already have $80 million US worth of USDC minted on their chain. So that's still a question in the room, but I also don't think that Noble not migrating would be a break scenario for Atom. I think Atom is just this coin that's like it's not flashy. It's a base chain, the mother chain in Cosmos that secures the Atom economic zone. It's an interchain service provider, and I think it's sufficiently decentralized, which is something you can't say about Say Network, Celestia, Osmosis just yet. They're also brand new in that sense. So now, if we look at the creation of the interchain, we are currently at 85 chains, sovereign app chains in Cosmos or zones. You can see that here visualized, and you can also play around here on the zones tab to see which are the most active ones in the past 24 hours, 7 days, or in the past month. What is kind of the user activity for IBC? We're approaching 2 million monthly active users and 4 billion in monthly IBC volume. Actually 1 billion in the past 7 days alone. We also see that Celestia is massively catching up here, big moves. I'm actually not sure if Say Network is listed here. Say is also a fully Cosmos built chain, fully IBC enabled, and all these kind of things. But yeah, so that's kind of map of zones where you can also see things are happening. And well, there's one chain that has, especially in the past couple of weeks, made big moves also in terms of price performance, and that project is Picasso, composable finance. And we can actually look over here on CoinGecko. This coin has just been going nuts. 2.2 cents right now. It actually went as high as 2.6 today, and a couple of days ago it went to 2.8 cents. We've been covering this here long before the coin even existed, right? Like 1.5 or 2 years ago. Picasso, definitely one to put in your watch list. Now has a $230 million valuation. This thing was below a $5 million valuation for a long time, to be honest. This was dirt cheap for a long time. It had high slippage on Pablo, their own DEX. Yeah, nobody talked about it. But now it's all coming together. And what is Picasso? Picasso is the IBC hub. It's an interoperability hub that aims to connect all chains seamlessly. And the end game for Picasso is basically to fully abstract away the hustle of bridging, going back and forth between chains, depositing, withdrawing, all these kind of things, and just purely focusing on providing the best UX to navigate through the interchain. They're betting big time on IBC. They're probably the biggest IBC maxis out there. And if you want to learn everything about them, I made a full list like over the past 2 years, starting in May of 2022 here, at least publicly recorded. We talked about this for a long time, right? About Polkadot, Kusama. They're actually home to the Kusama ecosystem and substrate. But yeah, also IBC, enabling IBC with near PICA launch in December 2022. We talked about that. We talked about synergies with Stride, with informal systems about IBC. We talked about MEV. We talked spaces with Say Network and Picasso about exploring synergies there, and so on and so forth. We even did an in-person interview here, Cryptocito, which you should also definitely watch here on my Twitter. And one update that might be important for you if you are especially from the Polkadot or Kusama community, because you can still claim your crowd loan PICA token. So if you bonded KSM to Picasso, you can still claim your PICA. So you just connect your wallet here and you will see your crowd loan rewards if you're eligible. I don't know how long this is still open. I don't think for that much. So do that ASAP, because there's also a proposal that already passed, which means that if you don't claim, your unclaimed PICA tokens will be sent back to the treasury. So that window is closing very shortly. So if you are a KSM contributor for Picasso, please go and claim. I know it's been super delayed. Well, there was a 2-year harsh bear market in between, but now you can claim. And I think the given price, I don't actually know how much it is and how the economics work, but I think given the current price and valuation, could actually be worth something. But that's about it for today. I hope by the time you're watching this, the ETF is already approved and we can celebrate. We can celebrate the preparation for the actual bull run. I think what we've seen so far has just been a bit of relief For some, even disbelief, because they still think we're going to go to 12K, right? I also think with the ETF approval, we might see a little bit of a Bitcoin season first, in which Bitcoin dominance goes up. But at some point, we will inevitably see a massive, massive alt season in which Bitcoin dominance goes down only. And I think you want to be prepared for that, right? You want to be exposed to altcoins before the alt season starts, not while it's in full swing, right? Because that means you already missed out on the majority of the gains. So that's about it for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Stay safe and be good.